would like everybody to get a piece of paper or a notebook. And the first thing I want you to do is want you to take your paper and I want you to write the top 3 values that you have. So you take your piece of paper, like a flag, and you write the values that you personally have. Now, I don't want you to think about the values you wish you had. I don't want you to think about the values your boss thinks you have, or your wife thinks you have, or husband for that matter. I want you to put the values that you really think. Perhaps you have a high value for making money. Maybe you have a high value for friends and spending time with your friends. So I want you to put realistic values that you have on your flag. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to get this done. And then I would like for everybody to share their screen and to tell us what their values are. You'll have 30 seconds to share. Okay, if you're just joining us now, I've asked everyone to take a piece of paper and write 3 of their main values, true values, not the ones you hope for. Okay, does everybody understand? Since I'm looking at black screens, I suppose that everybody understands. Okay, on your marks, get set, go. You have 2 minutes.
Sorry, मैं clear नहीं हूँ, मुझे काफी distortion हुई है. I couldn't hear you. Sorry.
ठीक है, मैं आपको बताता हूँ. जस्ट अ मिनट. अच्छा, इसमें ऐसा है कि एक आपको ना पेपर आप रखें अपने सामने और वाइट पेपर, उस पे अपनी एक फ्लैग बनाएं जिसमें अपनी 3 वैल्यूज, 4 वैल्यूज आप लिखें. टॉप 1 पे जो प्रायोरिटी पे जो वैल्यू है उसको लिखें, फिर सेकंड 1 पे लिखें और फिर थर्ड 1 पे लिखें ना. सब लोगों के लिए टास्क है कि यू नीड टू राइट डाउन योर 3 कोर वैल्यूज राइट ऑन द वाइट पेपर यू हैव विद यू राइट नाउ. ठीक है, आप लोगों के पास जो पेपर है उसके ऊपर अपनी कोर वैल्यूज, 3 कोर वैल्यूज अभी लिखें जो आपको.
Okay, sir, thank you.
ओके, थैंक यू.
Okay, so if you have not,
Yes, I have. Yeah, right. ठीक है.
If you have not completed your value maps, then I'll give you a brief moment longer. I will go through my value flag with you, and then it'll be an example of how I want each of us to talk about their values. Okay? So here's my value map. You may not be able to see it, but that's me. And my top value is that I must believe in what I'm doing. If I don't believe in it, then I will do a bad job. The second thing is, whatever job I do, I value what the future holds. I love to look into the future and work towards a better future for myself and for others. And finally, I love to solve problems. If I am in a job that does not require me to solve any problems, I will shrivel up and die. I am somewhat strategic, but really relationship based. I prefer the relationship side of things than strategy. So that's my value flag. Let's have, is it Basura? Basura Praveen? Bushra Praveen, will you go ahead and give us your value map? Okay.
Bushra, you are audible. We are audible to you, and you have written down your values. Please share your values. अब आप लोगों को अपनी अपनी values जो आपने write down की है ना, वो शेयर करनी है ताकि हम उनके ऊपर डिस्कशन करें, ठीक है, और फिर उसको आगे लेके चलें, प्लीज। जी हारिस बोलिएगा।
Yes, well, I have written
यस
my
प्लीज।
values over here.
आप
Can you see them?
यस
Okay, the first one is or more important to me is the loyalty. Okay, the first one is the loyalty that, and I also know that it's always a two-way street. So, loyalty is the first thing which I always be able to provide, and I always look for in another person, because if the other person is not loyal, if even I'm not loyal to the other person, then he can't or she can't be loyal to me as well. And the second one is the respect, because if I demand the respect from other person, then I will give him or her the respect as well, and which is these two things are the most important in any either relation or business or anything. And the third one is the courage that sometimes we do get cold feet as well, but I know that if I want to deliver something, then I do have the courage to deliver that as well. I do have that confidence in me as well, that I know myself that I am a hardworking and I know what it takes to get the job done. So these are my values.
Harris, thank you. Appreciate that.
हाँ जी, Tirza, please share your values.
Sir,
Khizar,
sir,
okay.
yes, sir. Sir, I have written first thing is passion. The second thing is adaptability. And the third one is excellence, right?
या
Hello.
जी अभी खिजर बोल लें, फिर आप बात कीजिएगा ना जी। खिजर प्लीज स्टार्ट अगेन।
Sir, as far as I have written that the first thing which really is my core value is my passion, my passion to do work. And another thing is adaptability. It simply means to being adjust in your work environment and being flexible and open-minded and willing to embrace the change. And the final thing which I really value is excellence. Means how you are striving to deliver high quality work and striving to give the best possible outcomes.
Go on the next person.
ओके जी, नेक्स्ट प्लीज बताइएगा।
Sir, मैं?
नहीं, आपने बात कर ली,
Yes, sir.
उसके बाद मेरे ख्याल से टिर्जा बात कर रही थी। प्लीज शेयर। आई थिंक टिर्जा।
Hello.
यस
I'm
प्लीज।
audible to you?
या यू आर ऑडिबल टू ऑल ऑफ
Okay.
अस।
Okay. Sorry, थोड़ा सा डिस्टॉर्शन है जो बार बार जो है वो स्टक हो रहा है, तो इसलिए अगर कहीं पे मैं हो जाऊँ अनऑडिबल तो काइंडली मुझे बता दीजिएगा।
श्योर।
Okay. So the values that I have right, it's there is a link between them. First is the leadership, because as a human resource professional, that I am thinking that I am a good leader, because if HR is a good leader, definitely they will lead all departments to uh, value the strategies of the organizations and goals. And after that, I linked with the team play, because I'm a good team player. I love to work in a team. And if I am a leader, if I'm not working with my team, so I cannot be a good leader. I have to be a team player. And the last one that I have wrote, that is, I always prefer to work beyond my comfort zone, because I'm not like that I have to work in comfort zone. Because if you are work in your comfort zone, so you cannot achieve your goals. So these are my 3 core values. Thank you.
थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर शेयरिंग।
That's everybody to put their values in the chat.
या
Type, and then we'll quickly run through them.
ओके श्योर। आप
I'm unable to hear.
या आप सब लोग वैल्यूज जो है अपनी चैट बॉक्स में लिख दें, ताकि एक जल्दी जल्दी इसको देख लेना। और रिकॉर्ड में भी हमारा मेंटेन रहेगा। यस प्लीज।
Okay, so coming up on the chat here, we have forgiveness, kindness. This is from Rimsha. Forgiveness, kindness, obedience, loyalty, respect, courage from Harris. Hassan, integrity, respect, and sportsmanship. Oh, that's interesting. I like the sportsman aspect of that. Teresa writes, leadership, team player, work beyond comfort zone. Sheila says, honesty, trustfulness, simplicity, peace of mind. We're going result-oriented, solution-oriented, working with team as a team player. Be honest, best buddy, respect, and experience of seniors. This is Ahmad. Bashra Praveen says, loyalty, team player, hardworking. Yes. We have anyone else who would like to contribute? Samina says integrity, accountability, courage. She's an overachiever. She actually added number 4, gratitude. Sylvina, grit. That's right, true grit. That's a good one. Servanthood, leadership, and integrity. So, Sylvina, could you please define for me what you mean by integrity? Could you unmute her so she can say what she means by integrity?
Greetings, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Yes, sir. All right. Okay. So integrity is, as a recruiter, as an HR professional, whenever I am recruiting someone, perhaps the second person who's sitting next to me may be assessing the person on technical grounds and all, but I am mostly looking into someone like integrity or someone with grit, because these are the values who they are kind of like, actually helps you to stay motivated, self-motivation, and you are actually gets more fuel by your own self, from your inner self, inner personality, rather than like always depending on the circumstances, because no environment, not even at home or at work or anywhere, everything is never so perfect. So I think integrity helps you to stay or stick around longer for a longer period, and especially um, uh, it's basically one of the core values that I really value. So that's all for my side. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing your input.
Hassan, what he means by sportsmanship.
ओके जी, हसन प्लीज बताइएगा जो आपने लिखा स्पोर्ट्समैनशिप, इससे आप क्या लेते हैं, इससे आप क्या मतलब लेते हैं? हसन प्लीज. Hassan, are you there right now? Yeah, please. Walaikum salam.
Sir, I would like to say just one simple thing, that I always try to bring my best to all the competition, to all the situation. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm gonna turn my audio on.
Okay, sure.
Well, I appreciate everybody's participation. Now, let's imagine that you are going into interview for a job, and you would like to know, I'm sure you want to know, what are the values of the company that you are trying to work for. To understand those values will help you as you walk into an interview. And also to understand the values of the person who is interviewing you. So having conversation, that's a good way to kind of uncover. So if everybody can think of what is your company's number one value. Let's have you put it in the chat what you think the number one value is for your company and any company out there. What's the number one? What should be the number one value? Any takers on that? Trust. Okay. Anybody want to contribute something else? A learning culture. Okay. Staff well-being. Right. Courage. Credible source for audience. Integrity. All right. Any other takers? I'm going to give you 10 more seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6,
Hello?
5.
Can you repeat the question?
Well, one of the things I would like to challenge you, empathy. I think when we talk about what a business exists for, what is the purpose of a business? A business exists to generate a benefit that will be purchased by somebody who sees it as valuable. So ultimately, our businesses exist to make money, to earn profit. Thank you, Hassan. We appreciate that. So HR is not on an island in the sense that you're not just hiring people, firing people, and watching over policy. HR is an integral part of a business making money. And that can be a challenge if your team has all different kinds of values. So we had respect, loyalty, passion, open-minded, excellence, sportsmanship, discipline, integrity, all of these things. And everybody's going to place a different value on how they want. Between Mr. Mansoor and myself, my first one was belief. I had to believe that what I was doing was going to make a difference. Mr. Mansoor said, clear communication. For me, I'm not motivated by clear communication as long as we're doing something that matters. So for us to work together, if we understand one another's values, we will be able to work together better. And so as an HR manager, if you have a team of people who work in HR, which is typically not true, most of the HR managers I know work very much on their own. They process a lot of paperwork. They make sure that all of the paperwork is done and completed and that the right people are hired. So our next exercise we're going to do is Steve Webb is a coaching trainer from the US that I have learned a lot from. And Steve has a 6-step process for how to improve your hiring. And so I thought this might be helpful for us to look at briefly. And then I would like to get feedback in the chat. We'll go through and hear what feedback you have on this hiring process, what you think about it. Is it beneficial to you or not? Let me quickly pull that up. Okay, where is this Zoom? All right, share screen. Word document, share. This document basically, I found it over the last couple days as I was preparing to come and teach this. He basically says that hiring is a big challenge. You have to exchange information between candidates, and it puts a lot of pressure on the decision-making process. You have to make sure you have the right people on the bus, if you're familiar with that terminology. So an office administrator who is working in HR needs to make sure that their job description is accurate to who they're trying to hire. He writes these 6 things here. He says, big picture, what are the mission and values of the company? That what do you do? The person you're hiring, the big picture, what is the mission of the organization and the values, and then what will this job contribute to that mission and value? The second thing for putting together a good job description is to list the repeatable tasks that someone will have to do. And finally, it's writing down the job description itself. He puts here in quotes, do everything that needs to be done. That sounds like my job description. Create the application, which is natural. Now, the most important part of any HR process is the interview process. And I actually think that it's more than that. How you get people to your interview, the funnel that you use to find people needs to be very carefully selected and crafted. What do I mean by a funnel? A funnel is how you narrow down the large pool of candidates that may be applying for your job to those few select people who are actually going to make it to the interview itself. The first interview is usually short. You're looking for a culture fit and a skill match. And you go on to second interviews, and the best way, and one of the greatest things I think that this document was talking about, is asking candidates or having candidates show their work product. Can they actually deliver on what they say they can do? And they use an example here. It says, for example, if you're hiring someone to manage your social media, right before the interview, give them a link to one of your blog posts and ask them to create 2 social media posts. I think when hiring somebody, you want to see actual work product, not something that is the best of someone. You want to see what they can actually produce, and then just make a decision on whether or not you should hire them. Create a training and feedback process. I think this is one of the hardest parts of HR. Talent recruitment, and then the second part is talent development. I'd love to hear how you are providing feedback. Is HR involved in the training and skill development of your employees, or basically are you just the front door and the back door? Let's hear some of your thoughts on that. The question here. What's your hiring process? Is HR management involved in writing the job description, or are you just simply handed a job description and I need to go find a person? Any feedback on that? HR management is being called into the greater business of generating profit. And so if HR isn't integrated into how the business operates, if you don't understand how your business makes money and maintains employees, then as an HR professional, you will not be able to do your job to the best of your abilities. Okay, Ahmed Khan. Okay, based on job descriptions, who writes the job descriptions? Are the job descriptions written by the team that is going to, that person will serve or work with? Or are the job descriptions written by a manager, or does HR write the job descriptions? HR. Okay. HR manager writes the job description. Message, or do I participate? Message, please. HR manager writes, only involved in considering the job description written by SMEs of the job. Okay. In public sector jobs, there's a little emphasis on the job description specifically. Job descriptions are normally mentioned in advertisement for higher positions within you. Okay. Well, there are 2 kinds of people on the call today. We have private people who are working in the private sector, and that is a clear process to actually generating income and making and earning profit. as a government or an employee who works for a large organization, a government organization or something akin to that, the challenge to see how your job fits into the greater mission of the government sector that you're working in, because you still exist to create benefits that deliver value to customers. No matter what sector we're in, that's our goal, together with the in-charge department. HR, I think, should be very much integrated into the job description, into the creation of that job description and what that job description does in the company. If they're responsible for hiring and they're responsible for maintaining that person at the company, it's very important that you know what job they will do on a day-to-day basis. And so you want to make sure that you hire the person who has the right kind of values, the right kind of work ethic that will match well with the team that you have on the ground. Okay, so that's now going to lead into our second and the longer portion of our call today. And we're going to talk about coaching. HR, along with any type of work that we do, it comes along with, how do I help someone else be successful? And so when I first came to Pakistan a few months ago, I asked, how many people understand what coaching is? And most people thought about coaching and said, well, in sports, we understand coaching. In business, however, things don't work that way. What is your opinion? Is coaching relevant to your job? And if so, how so? How is coaching relevant to your jobs? Let's see if we can have, is there anybody who wants to volunteer to tell us their opinion about coaching, what they believe coaching is, and if it's valuable? You can raise your hand in the chat and we will call on you. Do I have a volunteer, or do we need to volunteer some people? We can do that. Okay. Noman Adil, could you call on them? Yeah, let's have that person tell us what they mean. It's equally important. Let's hear what they define it as.
Assalamu alaikum. Am I audible?
Do you want some?
जी बोलिए प्लीज बात कीजिए.
Good evening, everyone. Sir, I would like to continue what you just said, that when you asked from people here in Pakistan about the coaching, they said that they understand the role of coaching in sports, but not anywhere else. So in my opinion, in sports, the role of coaching or the importance of coaching is very much important. The same way it's important in business as well. Like in sports, coaching is for identifying the weaknesses of players, working on their strengths, and at the end of the day producing the desired results. So in the same way, in organizations, in businesses, there are strengths and weaknesses associated with the employees. So coaching help you to capitalize on your strengths and work on your weaknesses to convert them into your strengths and produce the results that you want to produce at the end of the day.
Very insightful. Thank you for sharing that.
Can I add few things?
Yes, please, Khizr.
Sir, actually, unfortunately, I don't think so. I'm totally agree with Sir Numan's opinion, because I have played at a very professional level in sports, and I have observed with myself that in sports, the coaching is for the basics, for the people who are in the basic level. But if you talk about the business, you need to have coaching on every level, because in order to achieve more and more profit, you have to more profit for the company. You have to take coaching at each and every level. But while if you compare it with the sports, because at the grassroots level, player on the very training on the very first phase of the players, they only require training. But after they are experienced, they don't require training. They are talented. They have to use their talent there now. So for me, it is, I don't think so. It is similar to that of the sports. In business, you had to take coaching at every stage.
Okay, now I would like to add on to that. Hello, everyone. I believe that the reason that Pakistan was once champion in hockey and today we are nowhere, we were once champion in squash and today we are nowhere, we are the favorite team in cricket but we win no trophies, is because we think that once a person has reached a certain level of expertise, they don't need coaching. The players can do it on their own on the basis of their talents, but that is not true. If you see the greatest players in the world, even in business or in sports, they stick with learning, training, and taking coaching throughout their lives. So, for our players to believe that, okay, we just need training on like when we are younger and later we do not need coaching, is the reason that we stand nowhere in the world. So, be it sports or be it business, at every point in time throughout your career, even if you are Babar Azam or Virat Kohli, you still need someone to tell you to mend your mistakes and, like Sir Noman said, to work on your strengths. And
So I
that
want
is
to add.
why that is something that I've seen in Pakistani players, and even the ones who are not big players, like even the ones who are on like levels like domestic, because I've also played domestic cricket myself. So they believe that they know enough, and that is why I believe that unfortunately we know nothing.
No, sir. Actually, she is totally misunderstanding, because there's a massive difference between a coaching and a training. I've always told my juniors that you had to train at every level, at every part of the game, whether you are very, very professional or not. You had to do training. But when it comes to coaching, even though I had a shared dressing room with many great players, so I've heard from them as well that the coaching is only for the beginners. On the later stages, it is all your training, it is all your hard work you're doing on the ground. And still, if you compare with the business, you had coaching at every level.
I
That's
think
my.
I would like Sir David to add on to that, because the very notion that a great player does not need coaching, it sounds so absurd to me. So let's hear Sir David's opinion. That do you think that a player, when he reaches any certain point, they do not need coaching? Like, how is that? How that is ignorance, I believe. So what do you say, sir? Kindly clarify this point.
If you want me to play referee, you'll have to find somebody else. I think that the main point that we must clarify is that everybody has a slightly different definition of coaching. So as we go into this business coaching training seminar, as we're about to begin, the first thing that we need to clarify is, what do we mean when we talk about coaching? And when it comes to sports or business or whatever else, what is the role of the coach? Okay, so that's what we're going to focus on in the next 45 minutes. And I am glad that it's a lively discussion. What happens in most discussions is that we talk around each other. We must clarify, and I think that if the definition of coaching, as we will see here, the definition of coaching is, how do we bring about an individual's ability to perform at a higher level, no matter what that level may be. So if I'm working, I work with Global Sports Partners, a company that focuses on sports development. If we're working at a youth league, we're working at a federation level, or working at the Olympic level, there is room to coach, because coaching requires us to look at the entire person. So that's my opinion. I'm not here to settle debates, just simply to tell you my opinion. Let's begin today's PowerPoint presentation. And we will take several breaks for feedback as we begin. So let me share my screen with you. Is it this one? Okay. I don't think that's exactly how I wanted to share it, but how do we use slideshow? There we go. Yeah, the slide shows up now. Pardon? Yeah. So we're going to focus today on coaching as the art of asking powerful questions. And so that becomes the focus of our session today. This is not my own information. This is information that I found very helpful from a man named Keith Webb. Now, Keith Webb works with different organizations to develop tools for how coaches can better help their employees or their teammates do a good job of developing the people around them. So, see if I can move this out of the way. The first part here is that there is a coaching model. And if you look in the center here, the coaching model is surrounded by connect, outcomes, awareness, plot a course, and show highlights of success. So we're going to go through this process and show you how coaching is very different from commanding or controlling. So there was a time in which I would think that in the 1800s, there were ships that would sail the ocean. And at that time, there was a chief commander. He was the captain of the ship. And that chief commander barked orders to everybody. And whatever he said is what happened. And you were to obey orders no matter what. That's very much like the Patron Society of South America. The Patron Society was that a large portion of land would be owned by a person, and then there would be maybe 100 families, 200 families living on that land. The patron would provide for all of the needs. He would provide a school, he'd provide a shop with food, and then in return, the subjects on that land, the peasants, would give him honor and work. And that's how things moved forward. And it was how things were balanced. The patron made a decision about everything, and the workers basically waited around to be told what to do. So those are two models that are very different from a coaching model. A coaching model uses an adult learning theory that says that people are more engaged in learning if they have a choice in the topic and can apply it right away. So adults, and I think everyone in general, if they can choose the topic they want to learn about, and they can apply those new skills, new information to something in life, then they can actually move forward with that information. So the other day, I'm working on Facebook, and I'm thinking, okay, Facebook has something interesting, right? It's where I get on. It used to be I'd be on Google. Now I scroll through Facebook and waste my life a bit late in the afternoons and evening times. And there was a Harvard Business Review, which was one of my favorite LinkedIn and Facebook advertisement things to look at. In the Harvard Business Review, they were talking about how powerful lists are. So from that information, I created a list. And so on that list, I'm going to put the top 5 things I need to do tomorrow. So I'd like to ask everybody to get out their piece of paper again, and I want you to make a list. It can be a list about the personal things you need to do. It can be a list about work tomorrow. Make a list. So first thing tomorrow, I really need to go to the bank and pay my utility bill. And I really, tomorrow I have a language class for 2 hours. I have to get that done. I need to study. And let's see, what else do I need to do? Probably, I have to go to the car dealership. I'm trying to figure out how to buy a car in Pakistan, and that has been a huge headache. Banks have been very hard to work with. So bank and car, and then I have to prepare for a teaching seminar that I'll be doing next week. And then, oh yeah, my daughter wants me to go get her bubble tea. On this list, the Harvard Business Review was talking about making a list, prioritizing that list, and looking at the things that empower you. Our goal when we are coaching somebody is to help them identify things in which are empowering to them. We help them think critically. We help them analyze their circumstances and situations. The second thing we look at is we help them reflect. Now, reflecting on things is very hard. As a coach, as a coach, my job is to help my employee, my athlete, whoever it is that I'm coaching, is I want them to reflect on their situation, on their performance, and to help them have dialogue that helps them see themselves and their true performance by asking good questions, open-ended questions. So you can imagine that you walk into a room and you're sitting there and you're going to talk to someone. And the first thing that you ask is, so tell me, what's going well with your job? The coach is supposed to have good questions and talk 10% of the time. The coach is supposed to guide the teammate, the coworker, or the athlete to solve their own problems with the skills that they already possess. And so that leads us to number 3 here. It's a dialogue to examine a topic from different angles. The coach must be armed with good questions. They then must lead a person through a dialogue that helps them examine the topic from different angles. I don't know about you, but I have a tendency to pigeonhole myself. Now, I heard that terminology when I was working with some British guys, and they would talk about how pigeons would dig themselves a hole in the wintertime to stay warm, and they would sit in it. And so sometimes when I'm trying to solve a problem, I cannot think beyond the problem, and I need help. I need someone to help talk me through that, and that's what a coach should help you do. The fourth thing is, open questions are the tool for accomplishing new discoveries for adults. So I think that adults, one of the challenges that we have is that we think we already know everything. I'm going to rely on my background and my experiences and my skill set. But the true power of coaching happens when we're able to help people make new discoveries for themselves. I think we should ask this question. If know-it-all-ism is a disease, do you have it? So I'd like Mr. Mansour to explain. Maybe you can help explain what that means. What is the disease of know-it-all-ism? What is the disease of? Know-it-all. That's right. It's a disease. The disease is you think you know everything. That's right. I think that oftentimes we are struck with this idea that together in charge. I'm trying to see Grace curiosity. Most of the time, put some anxiety. Probably should be listening. So one of the things I think we have to be careful of is as we age, the tendency we have is to think that we have arrived at all the learning we need to do. And that's false. As coaches or in HR, as we're working to develop the people around us, our goal should be a continual circle or process of learning and adapting. Okay, let's moving on. So we're going to define coaching here. Coaching is non-directive communication skills to help people find solutions and grow. Coaching involves listening to others, asking questions to deepen your thinking, to deepen their thinking, allowing others to find their own solutions, and doing it all in a way that makes people feel empowered and responsible enough to take action. Now, that's the key. The people you're working with, do they feel empowered and responsible enough to take action? All right, we're going to pause there and we're going to go into discussion. I would like to hear your thoughts on this coaching style. You can write comments in the comment section, or you can click on your mic. What do you think, given this definition of coaching? And I'll repeat the definition here for everybody. I'll put it in the notes. Non-directive communication skills to help people find solutions to grow. What do you think of that? Sorry, non-directive, none. So let's see, who has not spoken in our group time yet? Is this Rishma? Rimsha? Has she spoken yet? Has she spoken earlier? Well, let's ask her to
please.
hear what she thinks about this definition of coaching. Non-directive communication skill to help people find solutions to grow.
Rimsha, yes, yeah, just admitted. Rimsha, please share your point of view related to this. Okay, I think Rimsha is not hearing us right now.
Okay. Do we have any other volunteers?
Yeah. She is unmuted. Rimsha has unmuted. Yes, please, Rimsha, go on.
Sir, there was distortion. Can you please repeat the question?
Yes, please. You are audible to all of us. Please speak. I think.
What was the question? I can't hear.
The question is, what do you think about the definition of coaching as coaching is a non-directive communication skill to help people find solutions to grow?
If we have a good coach, we are able to grow in difficult situations, and that coach will be a problem solver for us, and he will guide us in every situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
So on that, I would like to respond and say that coaches are not the ones that problem solve for you. Coaches know how to ask the right questions to help you problem solve your own problems. There's a fine difference between a coach telling you how to do it and how it should be done, and you discovering how you can overcome a problem that you're facing. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
How does it make sense to you? Explain to me.
Actually, I haven't heard the full sentence. It's coming two voices to me. I don't know why.
Okay. I hear the echo.
I think Sir Mansoor's laptop
All right,
is.
let's try that again. So a coach is intended to help you
Yeah.
discover ways to overcome your own problems. So the coach should ask you questions,
Yes.
but they are not there to give you the answers.
Okay. So they are not solving our problems. They only
Okay,
ask.
Yeah, please.
thank you very much. Let's go to Mr. Noman and hear his response.
Sir, what I understand from the point you just made is that coaches actually help you develop your skills. They help you to understand the problems, to anticipate what actually is coming your way, what difficulties, what problems are coming your way, and how those problems can be solved. They are not actually, solving your particular problem at that time. I mean, if you are facing something difficult at your work, they are not going to, help you, overcome that particular difficulty only. They work on your overall skills of problem solving, like how to, anticipate, understand the problem, and now how to, solve that problem with multiple solutions.
Yes, a coach is supposed to be there to help you look at a non-direct communication, teach and guide individuals, helping them. Yes. Ahmed Khan writes, coaches use a smart approach, non-directive communication to teach and guide individuals, helping them learn how to solve problems on their own. This is not only a benefit for them now, but also prepares them for the future. I think that as coaches, we're going to look at the coach's skill set, and it is absolutely the most challenging thing to be able to guide someone with questions that are not directive. So here is the example, and we'll go to I'll share the screen with you again. Here is the example of a directed question. Don't you think you should do this? Don't you think it would be better for you to spend this much money? Don't you think it'd be better to go talk to that person? That's not a question. That's a question masquerading or putting a mask on as if it's a question. Truly, it is a command. Go do this. Coaches must avoid these type of questions. A coaching skill set. Number one, active listening so others can express themselves. On the phone, I hear active listening all the time. Somebody calls and the answer is, tell me more. Yes, okay. How did that work? And they are prompting the individual to speak and explain their circumstances, their situation, by interacting with the person. That active listening is not trying to guide someone to a particular outcome that you have predetermined. You're trying to discover what the problem is. Then, number two, you want to ask powerful questions that initiate a change of thinking. We'll dive into each of these deeper in just a moment. The third one is, how do you generate generating feedback that avoids defensiveness? The fourth one, expanding awareness that creates new learning. 5, designing action steps that will actually be accomplished and follow up to increase learning and accountability. So you walk into a room, you sit down. You actively engage somebody by listening to what's going on. As you begin to understand the circumstances and situation, you start asking powerful questions, open-ended questions, to help someone see something from a different perspective. And then one of the most difficult tasks of a coach is to generate feedback that avoids defensiveness. Now, I've tried to implement coaching with my children. And immediately when I come into a situation and I'm trying to understand the problem, I ask some very good questions. And then I say, well, tell me how you feel about this. Tell me what you were thinking when this happened. Never fails. My daughter always goes into defense mode and justifies her actions. We are now losing ground because we're no longer focused on how to solve the problem. We're trying to defend why the problem exists. And that, as a coach, is deadly. So you need to allow the person to feel safe in the relationship, to be able to open up and give you feedback as to really what is going on. Help them see their circumstance, see their problem from a different perspective. Help them analyze where they are stuck and why they are stuck. What do they need in order to overcome this problem? This allows them to expand their awareness of what's happening. And then you help the person design. And when I say help, you don't tell them how to make action steps. You ask them, what do you need to do in order to implement the plan that you have come up with? And that person will say, I need to do X, Y, and Z. And as a coach, you can determine whether or not that person is thinking too big. He's trying to think bigger than, like he's trying to say he can do something in 2 days, which will take him 2 weeks. So as a coach, you need to understand his business and his circumstances or her circumstances to be able to give them help to design attainable action steps, things that will actually be accomplished. And then finally, a coach must follow up to increase the learning and accountability of the person that they're coaching. One of the ways that we do this, there's a popular thing called the design sprint, where there's a problem that a bunch of people are trying to solve. And basically, they sprint at this problem for a day, and then the follow-up is 2 weeks. And so a 2-week turnaround allows you to implement action steps and then to follow up with that person to help them discover what they've learned and to keep them accountable to the plan that they have created. Define coaching. So this is non-directive leadership. We are drawing out, we are asking questions. The leadership tension, the reason why people don't like coaching is because it feels easier and faster to lead people from authority. So we overly rely upon command and control. We immediately start thinking, how can I advise this person? How can I impart some of the wisdom that I've learned? How do I tell them how to do their job better? It is so much easier to command somebody. The problem is that you are stifling the person's creativity, gifting, and skills. When you come in and impart your great wisdom on the situation, you are now taking away a person's accountability because you are the one that came with the solution. So I'm going to say, I tried what you said and it didn't work. So whose fault is it for not succeeding? Yours. Now, we don't want to play the blame game, but in business, we want to release, we want to empower creative thinking. We want to engage people's gifting. What are people good at? What drives them? And then finally, how can they utilize their skills to the best of their ability? Now, coaching does not just happen. In fact, I fail at coaching a lot, but I still see the value in coaching. If you practice coaching in conversations where you expect yourself to be 100% a coach, you'll find it easier to stick to the coaching approach. So what situations might that be? What situations in your life might be that that exist where you actually can practice coaching? Not advising, not telling, but coaching somebody. Let's hear from the group. What situations might you find where you can be a coach, a pure coach, one that just asks good questions, help somebody realize how they can be the best source of their own solutions? Do we have a volunteer or should we call on somebody? Okay, let's see. As let's ask if asked on you, Farah.
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay. So can you repeat the question, please? Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible to all of us.
The
Okay, can
question
you
is,
repeat the question?
there's some feedback. Let me put the question in the chat, okay?
Okay.
The question is, in what situations that you currently have can you practice being a coach?
Yes, Farah, please speak.
Sir, I didn't plan anything to ask. Like, how can I, being a coach in any situation, I ask the question to my client in some situation if he is facing or if the situation I'm facing. Okay.
So the question is, where can you practice the tools of active listening, of good questions, of helping someone see their problems from a different perspective? There are places where we can do this that are non-threatening. For instance, you can do it with a family member. You can do it with a brother, a sister, parents. Coaching is a way of acting concerned for someone else and letting them express themselves and encouraging them to solve their own problems. So perhaps you have a friend or someone where you can engage in asking these kind of questions, because oftentimes it's difficult.
Yeah.
Oftentimes
it's kind of difficult that because if someone
in a professional
facing a
setting
situation in
without
their life and
practicing that in your personal life. So that's all I was trying to get at. So yes, you did not, you weren't the one that was supposed to prepare
I'll pass
for
the
today, so
question.
I apologize for putting you on the spot. Thank you for your feedback. I appreciate that.
I want to answer it like in every business.
Would anyone else like to give some input on who and where they might be able to practice coaching?
I want to answer that if like in every business there is a problem problems in every business. But how we can solve it? If there is a coach, if I want to be a coach to someone, and I want to him or her to solve the problem independently, so I will encourage them to become more independent. And the first thing is that I will do brainstorming with them, like how to find solutions to solve the problems. And second thing is I will find ways to visualize problems, like drawing a mind map of the problem or using sticky notes, like these kind of things I can do with that person. And also the trust issues, uh, he or she should have trust on me.
That's a significant point. One of the most important things between the relationship of someone who is being coached is that they have to trust the coach. And so a coach must build a strong rapport, a strong level of trust, so that a person will confide in them and will be vulnerable to what they're really facing. And then also, you build upon that trust by engaging a person's own creativity to solve a problem. And we'll move on here to our next slide. Okay, go ahead.
Selvina, please raise your point. Please share your perspective. You raised your hand, please.
Yes, I wanted to share my personal experience. Basically, coaching and counseling is somebody who's walking alongside with you, but basically you are the person, or the person who's going through the problem is the person who's going to find the solutions for themselves. The coach is just going to help you analyze or analytical. He or she is going to bring you to that point where you are more able to see the picture clearly. So in my personal experience from the very a long way back, I would say, when I first was like, given the role and to manage the team members within the HR. So there was many situations where the subordinates or the team members would just come and would ask just for the solutions. So I didn't know anything about the coaching or counseling at that time, but there was something back of my mind, very naively, I always wanted them to basically reach to the point where they would be like, aha, I could do that actually. So I would keep going on round and round with their, like, questioning and, like, discussing the situation and all that. And later in my career, when obviously mentoring is a different thing, and then I knew what is the difference between counseling and coaching. So I just want to, for everybody's learning, I just wanted to share that while the psychological or behavioral counseling, what do they do is, like, they just listen. Always, like, when we are listening to the problem, we have to pretend that we are one of those psychosocial support person, and we are just listening, and then we are going to ask specific questions to help the other person to recognize what the problem is, what the core issue is. But some of the very challenging situations that I found is, like, one of my, like, my close friends and all that, they would, in their explaining the situations, they would keep asking you, they would keep asking me, so what should I be doing? So what should I be doing? So what do you think? What do you think? What would you do if you were at my place and all that? So these kind of questions actually are very challenging and very difficult to handle. But just to sum up, basically the coach is somebody who actually walks alongside you, but it's the problem solving, the talents, or you can say this ability, basically we need to instill we need to basically instill as managers or like coach or somebody who's managing the team. They have to instill this talent or this ability into others by helping them to recognize the core issues. So thank you so much.
Yes, Sridhar, please share your perspective. आप
Sir, I
बताइए.
have a little point just wanted to add here. As the Mr. Sir David asked, what is your favorite point of doing the coaching? So I must add that it is very important nowadays, especially in Pakistan, that we had to give professional coaching, because you know in most of our schools and most of the families where student loves to do arts and he is bound to do engineering. So I think so professional coaching really matters here. If you can if you can guide him about his goals, about his career goals, then I think so he will give a great impact to the society.
Yes, I think it's an important aspect, and we appreciate everybody's feedback and conversation about this. It sounds easy. It really does. I mean, you're asking questions to somebody. How hard can that be? But you are right. Most people want you to solve their problems for them. There's I was watching a news article, a news thing, and there was this person who's struggling very much with depression. And so they're talking about like, well, you should try this and you should do that. And another person came along and said, the only person that can help overcome your depression is you. And they had built themselves a mind prison where they kept themselves locked away, afraid. And oftentimes in work, we find that we create in our jobs, we create a hostile environment that doesn't allow our teammates and the people around us to achieve and grow in a healthy and right way. So this is very difficult in a culture in Pakistan. People are afraid, maybe. I mean, I don't obviously know everything in Pakistan. I did conduct, I did research on multiple companies that were in Sialkot and how those companies function. And one of the things that surprised me is that those companies, you do what you're supposed to do or you are gone. There's no question. Like, you don't get to think creatively. You don't get to, people are terrified of speaking their mind. It is a very hostile working environment. Outsiders are not trusted. Insiders are not trusted. Managers are not trusted. Trust is a huge issue in those companies that were surveyed. And I don't know if that reflects on the culture as a whole, or if it reflects specifically on industrial locations, but I think that was a concern. When there is no trust between teammates, between your boss and your employee, people will work at a level that maintains their job, but they will not exceed, grow. They won't exceed expectations. They won't grow at a healthy and good rate. And so that's just something I'd read about this past week as I looked at multiple studies on people's leadership styles in Pakistan. And actually, there's not that much good information on traditional styles of leadership in industrial environments here in Pakistan, which if anybody's pursuing a PhD, I would highly recommend that you look at healthy models in Pakistan for leadership development. Okay, so let's go back to our screen sharing here. We need to move forward. The time is heading quickly away from us. Let's go back up to, all right. Developing better questions. Number one, Open questions. These are questions that provoke questions in the other person. They're provoking, that's not right. It's provoking answers in the other person, but you're provoking them to ask the right questions about their situation. Is the question that you're asking benefiting the subject, or is your question benefiting your own ideas? Evaluate your question. Are you asking a good open-ended question? Secondly, is your question focused forward? Is it looking to a different future, one in which the person is overcoming their trouble? Is your question trying to build that person's ability to solve their own problems? Open-ended questions are good and powerful questions, but they need to be thought of beforehand. These are questions that you should come and have in your pocket, put away in your mind before you show up to a meeting where you know you're helping coach somebody. Oftentimes, failure is an opportunity to coach. So, just the other day, I wrote a message. My son is in America, and his car broke down. And so I, from Pakistan, am trying to solve his problem. I'm telling him what to do all the time. Do this, do that, do this. Finally, my wife came to me and she said, you know, you're not coaching your son very well. And I thought, okay, she's right. So I then started asking him questions, and hopefully he will be able to solve some of his own problems of getting the car to the garage, getting them to work on it and fix it. He has to grow up and own his own problems. It is now his car. So that's just a personal example of seeing how my command and instruction was not helpful to him. He needed me to ask him better questions so he could solve his own problem. A different angled question. This is the second way of asking questions. Look at the same thing in a different way. Looking at the problem from a relational angle. What are the relational dynamics that are happening surrounding the problem? Secondly, look at it from a financial perspective. If money were not an issue, how would you change things? I think that oftentimes we think that money is always the answer. If I had more money, I could solve my problem. Usually, that's not the case. Usually, you cannot buy people's integrity to do their job well. Money is usually not a great motivator. The third thing here is motivational. What would overcoming this problem do for the person and their ability to overcome future problems? When there is nothing greater in my mind than fixing a problem. To be able to problem solve and to find things that are broken, fix them, and succeed helps me grow as a person, because then I believe the next challenge is not that difficult. If I can solve one problem, I can solve the next. From an organizational perspective, are we asking questions that might help the person see how the organizational structure is influencing things? For example, hiring someone. Is your structure impeding the ability to hire the right people? Asking them to analyze the structure, their management structure, perhaps the structure of their day. Never fails. In the morning, when you come to the office, everybody's enjoying their morning. They're having a cup of tea, they're enjoying time management time, they have all the time in the world, and they're not structuring and planning their day. They've made a to-do list. Come 4 o'clock in the afternoon, when there's 1 hour to go, Everybody's scrambling to get things done. Why? Because of poor time management. Helping someone realize that will help and benefit them greatly. The coaching tool set has the conversation is a learning process, not a teaching process. Let me say that again. For all of you very smart and bright people out there, this is a conversation learning process, not you teaching, not me teaching. We want to have tools that focus on the problem, not the person. Oftentimes we think that useless person when someone has done something wrong. And truly, he probably or she did not have the tools or the skills to be successful. And so we want to focus on the problem, not disparage or think badly about the person. We also want to use grids to assist the subject to make sound decisions. So, a grid, a framework. The human mind will become quickly overwhelmed with endless options. In the 1980s, the era in which I was growing up, everybody told their children, you can be whatever you want when you grow up. That's not true. I definitely could not be an engineer. I'm terrible at math. There are certain things I just cannot do well. But endless options was actually paralyzing. I needed a way to digest what options were truly in front of me and to be able to put a grid together that analyzes, okay, these are the decisions I need to make in order to process this problem and find a solution. You want to help people have a process to discover the most relevant topic for your coaching conversation. So, in your conversation, when you're sitting down with someone, someone may say, this is my problem. My problem is that my computer always crashes. And the person says, well, let's talk about what's the problem here. And they talk about it. Well, the computer is just a bad computer. If I get a new computer, then it won't do that. The actual problem is that the person has a virus on their computer, and there's nothing wrong with the computer if they could remove the virus. So that's helping someone process to discovery, that they don't just blame something because they think it's the problem, help them think about it well. Another example of process to discovery is in statistics. Statistics often says correlation is not causation. So there's a book called Freakonomics, very highly recommended book. In Freakonomics, it shows the difference between correlation and causation. In the summertime in Chicago, there's a correlation between ice cream sales and murder. So people would naturally conclude, as ice cream sales go up, murder increases. We don't know why. The causation between those two things is that during the summer, people are hot and people are angry. And so they tend to get into more fights, which results in more murder. People also get very hot and go out and buy ice cream. Ice cream and murder are not connected by anything except the summer heat. So we need to make sure people are making the right connection between causation versus correlation. Next on our list here is techniques to identify and challenge limiting beliefs. When someone says, I don't think I can do this. I don't have enough time. I always make these mistakes. Whatever the person is dealing with in their fear and insecurity, You want to help them identify those things and find out why they are limiting the person. Last week, Mr. Riaz talked about overcoming the fear of public speaking, and that was helpful. There were some true fears about that could be overcome if you look at it from a different perspective. The other thing is you want to have tools to get people into action. You know, oftentimes when we come across let's say something goes drastically wrong and everybody wants to talk about, I call this the blame game. Everybody wants to blame somebody else. It's really not very helpful to find out who caused the problem. You may need to find that out, but it's better to understand, okay, now what do we do about the problem and how do we solve it? How do we get to action? And that's what we want to help people do as coaches. Activity 1, questions with the outcome in mind, questions that sharpen the outcome and use dialogue to explore and clarify and focus. So as you go about coaching people, this is the first activity I would recommend that you try. You can write this down, the questions that have an outcome in mind. What kind of questions would you ask to help somebody think through? And let's say the problem has a definite outcome. That person will overcome the problem that they're talking about. How? Well, maybe they need new skills. Maybe they need more money. Maybe they need more time. Maybe they need a better plan. Your conversation should help dig down like you are mining into that conversation to find the gold of a better plan to help overcome the problem. Second, you want to make sure that your questions get to the root of the problem. There are many ways that you can do this. I think that if any of you are parents and you've worked with your children, you have to ask lots of questions to get to the root of what is really going on. There was a fight. Why is there a fight? Who is fighting? Who's this? It may come down to something. You have to ask good questions to get to that. And finally, through dialogue, you can explore, clarify, and focus an individual towards a future success. I recently had an interview with a person who had conducted coaching and mentoring here in Pakistan. He said one of the challenges that they had to the mentoring relationship is that if you mentor someone, they look to you as if you are king. He said they really probably don't think of you as king, but they don't want to mess up. So they try and please you, at least in front of your face. Now, as a mentor, as a coach, one of the things that you're trying to accomplish is you want to have influence and a lasting impact. You're asking good questions, and then, like a referee, you step in to help maintain the flow of the game, of the work activity, of the product that's being produced. So oftentimes, in this particular relationship, there was something called MAWL, M-A-W-L. Has anyone heard of this leadership style? MAWL? Wives are right in America as well. Okay. All right. So MAWL, M, model, assist, watch, lead. Have you heard of this? You model something for somebody, you help them do it once, you watch them do it and succeed, and then you leave them to do it on their own. This particular mentor coach said that that was a very helpful tool that moved them from being command and control to actually passing along responsibility and delegating tasks that were built upon this process that built trust, called model, assist, watch, and leave. All right. Well, that draws us to the close of the PowerPoint presentation. Let's go back to our, how do I end that? Oops. Okay, so obviously, powerful questions. We need to know the domain of the question. And so I want to share in the chat here, Keith Webb gave 50 powerful coaching. And actually, that's not as helpful as I pulled the ones that I thought were the most helpful. And I'd like to walk through these and see what opinions we have. All right. Can you see those questions? The first one is a powerful question about assumptions. What are you basing your assumptions on? Oftentimes, when we're coaching people, they have a set of presuppositions, assumptions, things that they believe exist or are the root of a problem or the root of a success. And so what are they basing these assumptions on? Are they basing their assumptions on data? One of the biggest things that's happening in the world today is called data mining. Why is that so important? Who cares about data mining? Again, it goes back to this idea of, can we glean from this vast amount of information that we have access to meaningful information? The human mind can process 7 decisions. The human mind can work like a supercomputer in many ways. And at the same time, we get stuck thinking about the problem the same way over and over and over. We need to challenge our assumptions. Asking questions about change. In what ways do you need to change? There's other questions in there. Does anybody have a question they think is actually helpful? Do we have any takers on a question that would say, yes, I think this question is helpful, and why? Let's see, who have we not heard from here? Any volunteers, or we will call on someone? Sir Ahmed Khan?
Yes, sir.
Any questions that you find interesting?
I am happy on that, sir. I'm just listening to you. If that comes to my mind, I will definitely ask.
If you would look into the chat, I've posted what's called powerful questions. And so based on those powerful questions, is there any question in that that you think is particularly helpful? So I'd ask you to look through that and pick one, and let's talk about it. All right, we'll give Ahmed Khan some time to get back to us. I do hope you find some of those questions interesting and thought-provoking. These are questions that can help. I'll also post, these are Kenneth Webb's actual from his website, 50 powerful coaching questions. Now, these I think are particular to some of his larger work that he does. But anyway, that's just a resource that you can look at. I had one additional thing I want to do this evening with us. Where is that? All right, well, let's quickly recap some of the things we've talked about this evening. If we could have some people respond, I'd like to talk about through the value flags, those value flags that you talked about. What is invaluable to you? Anybody have some feedback about why that might be important in a coaching situation? Any volunteers? The second thing we talked about was benefits versus value. Can anyone give me a definition? How are these two things different? Benefits and value.
जी शेयर करें यस प्लीज अहमद साहब प्लीज बोलिएगा
Sir, is I'm audible to everyone?
यस यू आर ऑडिबल
For benefits and values, what my take is in the values, most of the time you get the benefit, but your approach towards the benefit in the values is not a particular way. Your values are different. Like sometimes it's get the benefits, but sometimes maybe not. So values must not be aligned with the benefits. What my take is on that. Might be I'm wrong. They are different things.
In a business sense,
Okay. Yes, in the business sense, they are right.
in a business sense, a business is supposed to be creating benefits that can be realized and experienced by customers. And those benefits are seen as having value. Therefore, customers will buy the product. So in that sense, that's how a business would look at it. In a coaching relationship, you are bringing the benefit of asking powerful questions. And it is only helpful if the person being coached, the coachee, sees value in your relationship, which is built upon trust, and it's built upon genuine desire to help someone. And so that is very important as managers and as coaches, that we have developed a relationship that helps people to see the benefit and the value of having conversations that lead to problem solving. In 2012, I created a company called Karoi Adventure Sports. And that company, it was my mindset that we were going to become an adventure sporting company for the sake of doing surfing, mountain biking. And so we launched this company. And the company was a horrible, terrible mistake. we actually did not have the right, we didn't have the right business model. We didn't have enough customers. And so we had to continue to pivot And so we found a man who was in the business of coffee. And we went and talked to him and said, we have the sports company. It's terrible. We're about to go under. We need help. And so he began to coach us in 2012. So in 2012, he basically said, listen, I don't know anything about adventure sports. I do know coffee. And if you want to learn business, then start a coffee company. So we took our adventure sporting company, we kept the name, and we opened up a sporting themed coffee shop. And so we used all of our equipment to decorate, which was a sad thing. But we launched this coffee business, and with the help of his coaching, we were able to launch within 6 months. We brought in capital about, at that time, our capital investment was about 200K USD, small capital investment. And then, just like a restaurant and anything else, we worked 18 hours a day to try and make this company a success. And about every 2 weeks, we had a coaching call with our coach, and he would walk us through the problems that we were having. And it was one of the most beneficial times of my business career. I had started several companies at that point, some very successful companies, some very unsuccessful companies. And what I realized was that having a mentor, having somebody coach me through my difficulties and circumstances was essential to succeeding. And so the first 3 years, we had every 2 weeks, we would sit down and have a phone call for about 30 minutes where he would coach. And in that 30 minutes, he probably asked 2 questions, and we worked to solve our own problems. He helped the 3 partners work together well. He was an outside advocate. He wanted to see us succeed. And that is why ultimately the company succeeded. Now, I ended up selling my portion of the company because who wants to work 18 hours a day? But the company itself has continued to grow and now has expanded into, I think, 8 different stores and 3 of the coffee shop bakeries and things. So that was a success from my life because somebody was willing to selflessly give of themselves as a coach to help me solve the problems that I was facing. And they did so by asking good questions and by building trust. And you can never, I can never put a value on how important it is to ask the right questions. I think that as you mature and you grow into your career field, if you will grow into learning what the right questions are to ask given the situation, you will far exceed your contemporaries in your influence and ability to help others succeed. And so that's tonight all I had prepared. And Mr. Mansour, I'll hand it back over to you and say thank you everybody for your participation. It was a joy to come and present this to you this evening. And I do hope you the very best. I hope that you will have an interest in trying to coach others, and we'll put it into practice soon. So have a good evening from me. Thank you very much. And hope to meet you again soon. If you would like to wrap it up or if you want to ask questions, feel free.
Thank you, Mr. David, for having such a wonderful session with our audience. Now, is there any question from your side? You can ask. I have shared the material in the WhatsApp group, and you can be benefited from that material, and I will share the link of recording with you. Is there any question related to coaching? You can ask. We are here for a few minutes. Yes. Thank you, Farah, for your comment, and great. I will share the chat of the whole session with you too. after the processing of the recording and other thing from Zoom. So that will be beneficial for you too. Thank you. Okay. Yes, you're absolutely right. In mentoring, you have a personalized type of relationship. Yeah. There is a question from Noman Adil. Normally we do discuss coaching and mentoring side by side or simultaneously. What is the difference of that thing?
Yeah. There are aspects of mentoring that are not covered here in coaching. And so the discipline of coaching is where I have spent time working. As far as mentoring goes, there are a lot of resources for how people do mentor one-on-one. And there are similar skill sets to mentoring and coaching. I think mentoring is more directive. It tells people what to do and how to do it and observes them completing that. I believe that coaching is more open-ended and non-directive. That's why I've separated the two. Really good question. Now, I'm not saying that I have made that choice and it is the right choice. I'm just telling you that that is the choice I made to separate those two.
Okay, is there any other question? Okay. Okay, and now we are going to conclude the session and we will meet again. आप सब लोग अपने अपने व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप बना लें जिसमें आप लोगों को टास्क दिए गए हैं, प्रोजेक्ट साइन किए गए हैं, उस हिसाब से उन्हीं में डिस्कस करें, 27 तक सबमिट करें और फिर उसके बाद मे बी नेक्स्ट डेट ऑन 28 यू हैव टू प्रेजेंट पैनल ऑफ एक्सपर्ट और थोड़ी देर के लिए हम करेंगे, राइट? थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर सच अ वंडरफुल सेशन और फॉर योर पार्टिसिपेशन. तो दोबारा इंशाल्लाह मुलाकात होती है. Take care. Have a nice sleep just after a few hours.